I'm talking to Sarah Lindsell from PWC today. Sarah is CLO of the Year, and she's also the Global Director of Digital Learning and Transformation. So Sarah, start off.
Hi.
How do you manage to get PWCs, how many staff? 180,000?
We're 210,000.
210,000. So every time you blink, it's gone up another 10,000. So how do you manage to spread consistent learning? How do you get your staff up to speed? How do you get them performing to 100% around the world?
Obviously, every territory and every member firm has its own training strategy as such. But what we've done is really enable digital within the organisation to enable us to have a layer of consistency. So we want a PwC professional to be the same, whether they're based in London, Paris, Hong Kong, wherever they are in the world, they should have the same set of skills. So we have something called the PwC Professional, which is our benchmark, and then all our skills are mapped into that. So we use digital learning to enable us to provide quite a lot of level of consistency. So a lot of our mandatory learning will be digitally enabled, but also a lot of our performance support materials, a lot of bite-sized learning. We're using digital throughout the organisation to do that.
Give me a sample of digital. I don't know what springs to people's minds, but they may think of people sitting there in front of a screen going click, click, click. It's not like that at all, is it?
It's not like that at all.
What is learning like in PwC?
So learning is very much at the moment of need in PwC. That's where we're trying to bring it together. So right now we've got obviously mandatory e-learns, which could be compliance based. They're normally anywhere between 30 and 60 minutes, but they're really interactive, and we're trying to use a lot of different techniques within those to really make them engaging. But at the other end of the spectrum, we've got an entire professional skills curriculum in the UK that's been taken totally out of the classroom and is now being delivered every 2 weeks in 20-minute mobile enabled learning sections. None of the content is longer than 10 minutes. You go in, you do some learning, then you've got some reflection exercises to do back at the workplace. And then if you want to explore anything further, you can go and explore different TED Talks and articles that map into that particular topic that we're teaching that week. And that's delivered direct to your mobile phone. Yeah. So it's completely, totally one end of the spectrum to the other.
Yeah, so it's really creating an environment where it's really easy to learn where people want on the device that they choose.
Absolutely, that's our mission. You should have it as you need it, when you need it.
But you're also really good at the synchronous stuff. You bring people together regularly from all around the world and you learn together.
Yep, the classroom is an incredibly important part of our portfolio as well. So out in the US, they do a lot of what we call regional fly-ins. They have very big, complicated simulations running in classrooms for thousands of people. Again, you know, we do small targeted interventions down to lunch and learns as well. So it's not just all digital, it goes right the way across the spectrum. But it really is about learning at work for us. So there's also an incredibly strong coaching culture within the organisation and a lot of team-based learning going on. So
what are the big challenges? It can't all be so unbelievably fantastic. Or maybe it is. But what are the big challenges you face?
I think the big challenge at the moment is discoverability of content. So we have so much content created by our amazing learning professionals all over the world. And one of the things that we did some user focus groups recently, and they said, we know you've got amazing content, we just can't get to it. So I think one of the biggest challenges for us at the moment is how do we provide that consistent experience, enabling everyone to get that content wherever they are. So we're working on some stuff behind the scenes for that.
Yeah, and how many in your team? Is it massive globally, or is it just a very small, tight team that do all this?
So my team's really quite small and tight, and that's because we do a layer across the top. So we provide the tools, the technologies, the standards and the processes, and then we give those out to the territories where we've got some fantastic territory learning and education people, and they take that up. And then they use those tools and processes. So if they use a digital learning tool that we have sanctioned, that will work. They create a piece of content that will work anywhere across our network, and that's no mean feat.
Yeah, it is. So how do you protect that network? Is there any dedicated part of the network that goes to learning, or is it just flow out along with everything else?
So every territory has its own learning and development professionals. So in the US, you've got quite a big team there. UK, you've got a big team. In some territories, it might be 1 or 2 people. In some territories, it could even be 1 person. It might be half of their day job. So
do you brand it? How do I know when I'm reaching the right place? How does it reach me? Is it pushed to me? How do I find it if I'm looking?
So it will be pushed to you. You'll use the LMS to find it. We have a lot of, in the UK for instance, we send deep links to people and then it'll automatically launch the content for them wherever they are and on whatever device they're on. That just depends totally whichever territory you're in, but it's called My Development in the majority of cases, but each territory has the ability to brand their learning how they want.
How do you know it works?
How do I know it works? From an effectiveness point of view?
Yeah, and also the benefit back to the business. How do you know PwC is better than it might be if it weren't for all of the stuff that you're doing?
So there's lots of different ways of looking at that. One way we look is the amount of time we put our people back out at our client sites. So there's measurement around that. There's also obviously the basic measurement that you do at the end of a course, but we're also now going deeper. So we're looking with team-based learning at what the effect is of the learning now in 3 months and 6 months down the line. So every territory has a different way of doing that. We don't mandate anything globally. That's a territory by territory decision.
Do you take everything? Do you take people as they come in through their induction program, their onboarding, and take them right the way through as they become that PwC professional, or does someone else handle the early stuff?
So we have a global onboarding program that's been delivered, and that starts before anyone even joins the firm. So from their offer letter that goes out, they're into the global onboarding program, and then obviously each territory can tailor that as they've got territory needs, but that's where it starts and it goes right the way through. So it goes right the way through to partner and beyond.
Yeah. How do you arbitrate when you've got a territory saying no, we think this is much more appropriate for us, and you say no, that's not the way we're trying to do it globally? How do you balance all of that? Who has the last say?
There's an awful lot of negotiation.
Right.
So I think, it's about having open conversations. And I think a lot of the time it's about showing people that probably about 80% of the content that they have is consistent, and then maybe only the 20 needs to be tailored.
Yes.
And I think when you put people together in working groups, you can easily come up with that. So that's what we try and enable people to do.
And how does that sort out the cultural issues, the attitudes towards fundamental attitudes or learning, fundamental attitudes towards authority and each other, and the territorial rivalries?
I think when you design anything, you've got to be very, very mindful of where it's going to land in every individual territory. So if it's a globally produced piece of content, we will ask for our stories from around the network and we'll take those in. So we will make it contextually relevant to wherever you are in the network. So it won't just have a UK or a US focus. It will be reflective of the type of people we have across our organisation.
Sure. So what tips would you give someone, not necessarily in a massive organisation like PwC, but what tips as CLO of the Year, running a big operation, what would you say to your peers in terms of these are the key things to focus on if you want to do things right?
I think the first thing is get close to the business. Always listen to the business. At the end of the day, they are your customer, and always listen to your learner. And they can tell you a whole heap of things that are probably blindingly obvious, but you might not see. So I think talk to your business leaders and talk to your learners, and then try and get some level of consistency. So always make sure that what you're doing is going to work wherever it is in whatever organisation you've got, and try to think about how it's going to land for people. I am really keen on the implementation part of things. So for me, it's not just about producing it, it's about thinking, how's that person going to consume it? How are they going to work with it? Where is it going to fit in their flow of their work? And so they're the things that I think you've really got to pay attention to when you're putting any type of training out there.
Do you have user groups? Do you have people that you directly consult?
Yeah, we do. So we're on a big project at the moment, and we've formed a couple of user groups, and we went out to them and we just asked them how they like to learn. And really interesting results coming back. You know, you need to tell me exactly what I need to do when I need to do it, but you also need to provide it to me so that I can be en route to a client site and I can access something in the moment of need. So we regularly consult user groups, and then if we're doing very big pieces of learning, we'll have focus groups throughout throughout as well that we're testing our designs on as much as anything.
Yeah. So it's not rocket science, but it's absolutely crucial stuff, isn't it? Stay close to the business, stay close to your learners, and ask them what they actually want.
Yeah.
Don't tell them what they're going to get.
Yeah, ask.
Okay. Good stuff.
Okay.
Sarah Lindsell, great to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.